Hey guys, Ethan here from TheTobogganBastards, here to review a book that I've read recently called Killing is Harmless. This book is a review, or a critical reading, of a video game called Spec Ops, which is a great game. I can recommend that too. My group and I, by the way, will be doing a review of the game Spec Ops soon. It would have been out earlier, but we had some technical difficulties getting that together, which we figured out, so that should be out within the week. Anyways, on to the review for this book. If you haven't played the game Spec Ops, I wouldn't really recommend that you read this book. Just because some interesting points are brought up that could be interesting outside of the scope of the game, but they're presented in the context and with the context of the game. And if you haven't played it, you'll probably get a little bored reading it. And I'll get more into why later. But first, I'd like to start with just some objective points that I can make about this game, keeping my opinion out of it, just basic facts. Number one, he didn't have an editor when he wrote this book. It started out, he played the game, as I understand it. I listened to an interview recording, and this is my understanding of how it went. He finished the game, and he started writing a review. Not like a book, just a review. But he liked it so much that he just kept going on and on until it was a book. Pretty much. So, I mean, pretty much that's what happened. So he had 50,000 words, but he did it all without an editor. And that kind of shows. A little rough around the edges. There's some errors in there where you'll read a sentence, do a double take, and eventually you realize that the sentence is not the way it's supposed to be. It's got like maybe a verb tense error or something like that. So, unless you're an English teacher, it's really not going to ruin your experience for you or anything. But it might kind of make you stop and take you out of the book for a minute and be like, what is this? So, yeah. Second thing, for those of you who have played the game, you may notice that he misquotes or tells you when he writes out certain scenes. There's two in particular that I feel like he messed up a little bit. Like he wrote what happened incorrectly. And it's not a huge deal. These are small points where it's not going to like ruin the entire thought of his book based on a little flaw he had in interpreting, like what happened in the game. But there's a couple quotes that he gets wrong, I feel. I got the sense that I've played the game more times than he has. In the book, it sounded like, just from his writing, I got the feeling that he played the game twice. I've played the game like 5 times. So I feel like, I don't mean to brag or anything, but I feel like I could be a better source of who said what during the game. Not that I could write a better book than he could. Definitely he's got me there. But yeah, those two things, some quotes that seem out of place or incorrect, and some grammatical errors and just kind of a rough around the edges sense. That's what I can give you, just basic facts. Keeping opinions out of it, that's just how it is. So that would knock it down a couple pegs. Personally for me, obviously this book has opinions in it. Opinions on what kind of a message is trying to send, and opinions on certain things in the game, and blah, 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 blah. Obviously, you can't agree with everything he's going to say. I don't think there's any one way to agree with every single point in this game. Everyone's going to have a slightly different interpretation of this game, which is fine. I felt like his writing style, like the overall tone, was kind of impersonal and cold. Maybe take out the word cold. That sounds a little too extreme. A little impersonal. It felt like that to me. A lot of the time, it just felt like this is what happened, and this is what happened, and this is what happened. And this is what it means, and this is what it means, and this is what it means. And it felt like a lot of the time, like, his emotions were left out. Not all the time. Okay, there were points when he was like, oh, I don't want to do this, and, there were times when he expressed what he was thinking or feeling at the time in the game. But here's a good example. During like the points when he talks about the decisions throughout the game, very rarely does he bring in like his thoughts on why you should make a certain decision. Like, for example, whether or not you save Gould or save the civilians. Like, he didn't really give a justification either way for why he did what he did. So I felt like it was kind of, I personally would have liked that, would have made it feel a little more like a discussion and less like a lesson. Don't let that weigh in too much, because that may not hold true. What I just said right there may not hold true for you as you read the book. Oh yeah. A reason why, if you haven't played the game, why I cannot recommend you read the book is because there are lots of stretches of time where he delves into a lot of symbolism. And I'm not a big fan of symbolism, and some of it at times seemed like he was stretching. And one time I was just like, pfft, when I read it. I read one of his things, one of his symbolisms that he found. So if you're not a big fan of symbolism, certain stretches of the book may get a little dull. But if you've bought this book, that obviously means that you really like the game and you want to hear what other people have to say about the game. And you're not going to be deterred by some stretches of reading that get a little dull for you. And it didn't do that for me either. I plowed right through the book. So overall, I enjoyed this book. I'd give this a 7.5 out of 10. It's a little rough around the edges, and my own personal gripes with this book, you know, those are just my personal things. The only two things that I can really cite for you to take into consideration is it's a little rough around the edges, like just spelling wise, there's the writing itself, and some of the quotes seem like maybe they're not right. So yeah, 7.5 out of 10. It's a good book. It's only $5 on Amazon for the Kindle, so definitely a good deal. Yeah. And I also felt that his interpretation of the ending, personally for me, is wrong. I think it's wrong. Most people would disagree with me. I think he holds just talking to my friends about the ending, he holds the popular view of what the best type of ending is at that game, at the end of the Spec Ops game. So that took it down for me personally on a scale of 10. It may not for you though. It's not unlikely that you will agree with his interpretation of the ending. So, you know, find out for yourself. Definitely buy this book. Anyways, thank you for that. For paying attention, if you did pay attention. I don't know if you paid attention. If you liked, definitely hit the like button, subscribe. We do more than just book reviews. This is just kind of a filler. And I also noticed that now there weren't a lot of videos for Killing His Harmless reviews, so I wanted to do one. My group, the Toboggan Bastards, we also do funny skits. We do game reviews. We have gameplay videos. So far that's all we have. But there's not much that we won't do. I mean, we've only made a couple videos so far, but we're going to keep making them. You can expect a Spec Ops review out soon. And you can also expect a bro-through, as we refer to them. It's gameplay with me and Trent and commentary. And on the next co-op game we're going to play through is Splinter Cell Conviction. The co-op mode. Duh. Sorry. I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to start playing music that only some of you will like. And please like and subscribe.